Hello friends, I'm Akash, and a hearty welcome to my YouTube channel. Have you ever heard of idioms? Idioms are essentially phrases with a deeper meaning in English than just the words that they look like. Idioms are one of the quickest ways to sound more like a native. So in this video, we'll be going over 7 of the most important idioms that you should know in order to speak like a native. The first one that we'll be taking a look at is break the ice. Have you ever been involved in a conversation and you just don't know where to start? Well, that's exactly what the term break the ice is for. When you break the ice, you are initiating a conversation in order to reduce the tension and make it feel less awkward. The reason why we say breaking the ice to refer to this dates back to when we used to use ships as the primary communication and transportation form. When this was the case, oftentimes ships would get stuck in ice. So they had to send over smaller ships to come and break the ice so the bigger ships could flow freely. And just like those ships flow easily by breaking the ice, so too your conversations flow freely when you break the ice, which is the origin of this common idiom. Our second idiom is a dime a dozen. When someone says that certain items come a dime a dozen, that means that they are very cheap or that they come in all the time. If something is a dime a dozen, it's commonplace and everywhere to be found. The reason why we say a dime a dozen dates back to a period in time where you really could get a dozen of, for example, eggs for about a dime or 10 cents. Thus, that term became shortened from a dozen eggs for a dime all the way over to a dime a dozen. The third idiom on our list is spill the beans. If you tell someone to spill the beans, that means you're telling them to share some secret or confidential information. It means that you're sharing some gossip, or that you're just there to whisper something, just a small secret. That is what we use spill the beans for. However, the origin of this term seems to come from ancient Greece, or at least one potential explanation. Back in those days, people voted using beans. A white bean meant a vote for yes, and a black bean meant a vote for no. However, if somebody spilt the jar with all the beans in it, they would have effectively spilled the beans and thus spoiled the results of the vote. And so, that is one possible origin for where the term spill the beans comes from, used to describe telling someone a secret. The fourth one on our list is the term under the weather. If someone says that they are under the weather, it means that they're not feeling good. And the reason why dates back to ships again. This is another one which has a naval origin, and the reason why is because you would literally hide under the weather, essentially inside the ship, in case you were ever feeling seasick. And thus, from there comes the meaning of under the weather. Originally used to describe feeling seasick. If you're under the weather, it now just means that you're not feeling very good, for one reason or another. Our fifth one is a little more obvious. Hit the nail on the head. If you tell someone that they have hit the nail on the head, it literally just means that they have done something perfectly, on the dot. And the reason why is quite literally because when you hit the nail on the head, you are quite literally driving a nail using a hammer into the perfect spot. It's a carpentry term origin, and thus we get the term hit the nail on the head. So make sure to use this whenever you or anyone you know does something perfectly. Our sixth entry on this list of idioms is cost an arm and a leg. If something costs an arm and a leg, that means it is incredibly expensive, far outside of anyone's budget. And the reason why we say it costs an arm and a leg is quite literally because, obviously, your arm and your leg are very valuable parts of your body. You quite literally would have to pay an expensive amount of money in order to match that. And the specific origin appears to date back to newspapers from quite a while ago, which used this term by making comparisons to actual accidents where people would lose their arms and their legs, and thus would have to pay an expensive amount of money in order to repair and make sure that everything was getting better. Thus, we get the term to cost an arm and a leg from that origin, simply because the fact that your arm and a leg are incredibly valuable leads to the assumption that it costs a lot of money to do something. And that is where we use the term to cost an arm and a leg. The seventh and final idiom on our list is bite the bullet. If someone bites the bullet, that means that they are facing a difficult situation and choosing to endure through it bravely. If somebody's biting the bullet, they're choosing to go through that tough process and try and weather the storm. So, where did this term come from? Well, it appears that one possible origin may be during wartime. During wartime, when soldiers were wounded, in order to ease the pain, their fellow soldiers would come over and try and give them a bullet casing for them to try and clench. In doing so, it would be one way of easing the pain in certain areas. And so, from there we get the term bite the bullet, because quite literally what those soldiers were doing was braving through those situations, even though they were incredibly difficult. That's the origin of the term bite the bullet. Which one of these idioms was the most interesting or useful to you? And which ones do you want to see covered in the future? Let me know by commenting in the section below. And for more videos, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss another one every time I upload. Once again, thanks so much for watching,